Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Got question Chase, has got the facts. Talking NFL numbers, he's got your back. A little chart trend ball, man, he's got it like that. Chasing data by do champions. Chasing data applies to everyone. Chasing data, yeah, we're live today. Chasing data for always. Chasing data by do champions.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to our last episode before the draft. We finally made it. It's been, 2 months since the Super Bowl? And now we're almost to the draft. The first key piece, maybe the second key piece after free agency, but maybe what is the largest key piece of the offseason will change the futures of so many franchises coming up. This is probably the best thing because no one knows. We go into this assuming what we think will happen with all these teams and what we think they should do and what they shouldn't do. And we always come out surprised. We always have things like Daniel Jones being drafted in the top 10, Mitch Trubisky being taken number 2 overall by Chicago after they traded up. So I'm interested to see what happens. It's going to be this year I feel like the draft is just such an unknown because we just really don't know. Outside of number 1, like there's so many, everybody's mock draft is totally different. You have some saying, it started off with 1, 2, and 3 that 2 of the quarterbacks were going to be gone. Some say Abdul Carter going to, some say Travis Hunter going to, some of them have Travis Hunter dropping to 5 all the way to Jacksonville. It's going to be interesting. I love the fact that there is no consensus outside of pick number 1 as to what's going to happen. And with that, it just opens up a world of possibilities. There's definitely going to be some shock. Somebody's going to take someone probably 10 spots too early. Somebody's going to drop to the Eagles at 32 that we don't expect them to. But I mean, that's what we're here to discuss tonight. So before we get started, let's just, let's see. Let's look at a few things going on. Let's see if I can move it over here. Well, I don't know why it's not going to the right spot. All right, so pregame warm-up. Just a few topics that are going on and what's happened in the last week. First off, we have the Tyreek Hill saga that's been going on ever since the season ended. Is he going to stay in Miami? He wanted out as soon as the season ended. He claimed, it was the cryptic tweets. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? To be determined. Looking at his last season in Miami, he had just 81 receptions, under 1,000 yards, and 6 touchdowns. That was the second lowest receptions of his career, second lowest yards, lowest touchdowns of his career, lowest yards per catch at 11.8, and his lowest EPA output. Still 20 in the positive, but still the lowest of his career. So is he on the decline with that? His go-to trick being his speed. He is, 30 on the bad side of 30. So, I mean, what's most likely for him if they are to get rid of him is a post-June 1st trade. There's no other scenario that makes sense for the Dolphins to release him before June 1st or to trade him before June 1st. It'll split that $28 million dead cap over 2 years, and they would save $15 million this year. You pair that with the fact that they're basically finding a trade partner now for Jalen Ramsey, or they told him he could go out and try to find a trade partner. Where's he going to end up? Jacksonville, it seems like a rumored spot for him to go back and where he started, in Jacksonville. He's played 94% or more of his snaps every season since he's been in the NFL. 29 receiving yards per game allowed over the last 2 seasons, 2.5 receptions per game over the last 2, 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So with all that said, I'm curious to see what Miami does with him. Like, what can they get out of him, out of a trade package going forward? And what team is going to want to pay him? Because, I mean, there's been a conversation of him converting to safety as he gets older. He does have the longer arms, would be a good safety transition. But is that what is truly going to happen with him? I'm curious to see how it plays out with him going forward. Then we have Derek Carr. This situation is even more curious, I should say, because, I mean, there's rumor that it's not even really true as to what's going on with his injury, the shoulder injury that's being reported, that he may be out all of 2025. So then it really puts New Orleans in a situation of having to try to find a quarterback for the future, or maybe push the envelope on trying to get that done sooner than later. And I mean, there is a lot. You could go either way, especially Saints fans. Some are on board with Derek Carr, but then there are a lot that are not on board. He was 5-5 last year in his starts, 0-7 in the ones that he did not start. So the Saints definitely need him for sure on the field, but at what price, at what cost? They did restructure his contract, which we will discuss in a second. But when you look at the stats from when he was on the field versus to when he was not last year, 101 passer rating when he was on, drops to 66 whenever Spencer Rattler, Jake Haener was on the field. 215 pass yards a game, drops to 192. He had them down to a 2.8% sack percentage. It jumped all the way up to a 9% sack rate whenever the backups were in. 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions versus 6 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. So definitely a substantial drop-off whenever he's not on the field. I say all that to say what's going to happen, because if he does not play, the Saints are in even more of a predicament. We know that they've had so many years of where they have cap issues, and now in 2026, he's going to have a $69 million cap hit. So not ideal for the Saints and what they're going to do going forward. I mean, there's no win scenario unless he just becomes amazing under Kellen Moore. And last topic is Joe Flacco. Is he going to be the starter in Cleveland going into week 1? I feel like they should make it an open competition, especially if they don't take Shedeur or any other quarterback in the draft, which I feel like they're going to take someone. I mean, I would start him over Kenny Pickett. I mean, Kenny Pickett has not shown anything in his years in the NFL. You do have a more of a variance with Joe Flacco, a higher ceiling and also a lower floor at times, turnover prone at times. But when you compare to what they had with Deshaun Watson and Dorian Thompson-Robinson last year, anything is better. Go to Joe Flacco, get him in there, get Jerry Jeudy some targets, and see what we can do. Don't want to see Kenny Pickett in his small hands. Lastly, let me see if I can. This is going to be a very analytics-based mock draft. I want to look at it from a different point of view versus just saying what I think teams will do just based on what every other mock draft point of view is. It's just like, oh, they have this whole. I also went in and looked at their tendencies of what these teams have done in the first round over the last 10 years and what the coaching staff kind of looks at, what the stats have shown last year as far as needs, not necessarily just topically looking at a team saying, oh, they're the worst at running the ball. They need a running back. Looking more in depth, and we're going to go through the entire first round. And let me get this background off of here. Here we go. We're going to go through the entire first round and see what the analytics say for each of these teams and who I think they're going to take. So, with that said, let's get into it and get up some of my notes here. So, as an overview before we start, like some of the trends that I saw when I was diving into this is over the past 10 years, this is from 2015 up to 2024, there have been 28 quarterbacks selected in the first round. So that's on average almost 3 per round. So if we go on that average, that's Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, and Jackson Dart, which kind of fits the mold of what we expect to happen this year with the first round. Jackson Dart could slide out, but I don't think that's going to happen. Wide receivers, 29 in the last 10 years. I don't think we're getting 3 in the first round this year. That's an average of 3 per draft in the first round, but I do not foresee that happening this year for sure. You have Tet that's almost guaranteed to go in the first round, but outside of him, could Luther Burden slide into the end of the first round? Potentially, but that's pushing it there, much less going 3. Offensive linemen, 31 offensive linemen, that's your tackles, your guards, and your centers, have been selected in the first round. So it's about 3 of each of all these. 3 could happen. I don't know that it's going to, but it definitely could for sure. Oh, yeah, 3. Yeah, 3 are definitely going. I'm forgetting the top 10 picks. 3 are definitely going in the first round for sure. Probably potentially 5, maybe 6. Defensive linemen, your tackles and your DNs. This is the most frequent position group with 42 over the last 10 years. That's 4, which is a ton. Linebackers is where it starts to drop off, with just 15 selected in the first round over the last 10 years. So that's 1 to 2 every year. I mean, probably just 1 this year. I think about it. Jihad Campbell. No one else is jumping into the first round. I mean, linebacker is kind of going the route of running back a few years past, whenever the position started to drop off and the worth of it dropped off. And then DBs, 24 cornerbacks and 16 safeties. So 40 DBs in total. Let me think about that. 24 cornerbacks. So that'd be 2 in the first round. Yeah. I mean, you consider Travis Hunter, Will Johnson, Trey Amos. I'm forgetting some as I think about it off the top of my head. Could Maxwell Hairston jump into the end of the first round? So, yeah, definitely 2, closer to 3 for sure. 16 safeties. Yeah, that's 1 or 2 with the likes of Malachi Starks and Nick Emanwari. Definitely could get 2 in the first round this year. So we're on pace, I do believe, to fit those molds of what's been happening in years past. Teams with the most first round picks. Did the Dolphins have 3 in 2020? 5, 18, and 30? Or am I just tripping? I don't know. Let's see. What else has happened as of late over the last 10 years? Okay, so since 2015, there have been 6 quarterbacks taken with the first overall pick. 2015, Jameis Winston. 16, Jared Goff. 2018, Baker Mayfield. 19, Kyler Murray. 21, Trevor Lawrence. And 23, Bryce Young. Let's see, over the last 10 years, I'm going through my notes here. 12 quarterbacks have been selected in the top 5. I mean, that's, positional value for sure. 21 instances where first-round picks were traded. So 21 in 10 years, that's 2 per year on average, and we have not had any. I mean, like a month or 2 ago was already the latest into the offseason where there hadn't been a trade for any first-round picks, and we still haven't had any. Somebody's got to make a trade because everybody loves trades. Everybody likes the chaos. The Rams moved. Did the Rams move up? I want to say they did. Let's see. And, I was speaking earlier about the reaches that you see. We're going to get one this year. Don't know who it's going to be, but we're going to get one. 2019, you had Daniel Jones drafted at 6th overall by the Giants. And then Jordan Love in 2020 was taken 26th overall. Some of the best steals that I saw over the last 10 years, Jalen Ramsey being drafted 5th overall. CeeDee Lamb going 17th. He immediately came in and was key contributor to that offense. Jamar Chase dropped to 5th. We talked about Jamar versus Penei Sewell. Both have become all-pro players. But him falling to 5th was a steal. I mean, getting him 5th overall, is he arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL now? Then you look at some of the players that were not quarterbacks that were taken in the first round. 24 non-quarterback players in the top 5. I mean, that's a good bit. I mean, most of them have been defensive when I looked at it. You had the likes of Nick Bosa going 2nd, Quinnen Williams going 3rd. The best first-round draft classes of the last 10 years, probably 2017 or 2021. 2017 is when you had Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, and Minkah Fitzpatrick all going in the first round. And then in 2021, you had Trevor Lawrence, who is still, the jury's kind of out on him, Jamar Chase and Micah Parsons at 1, 5, and 12. Those are probably 2 of the better classes. I mean, you probably could argue there's other first-round classes that are better. Some of the misses, Mike Williams in that same 2017 draft and John Ross that was taken 9th overall. They tried to take speed, did not work. Corey Coleman, 15th overall in 2016. No. The positions that were not drafted in the first round over the last 10 years, 2 of these are a given. One that was more surprising was the tight end. There's only been 5 tight ends, which is it's not going to happen this year. It's going to be a tight end in the first round this year for sure. Only 1 fullback, Aaron Ripkowski for the Packers in 2016. Fullback is never being drafted in the first round probably ever again. And there have been no punters or kickers in the last 10 years. So, I say all that. The trends tend to show that there's quarterbacks, wide receivers, and defensive linemen are the focal points of the first round. Usually a lot of trades, but we have not had any yet, so they need to pick up the speed on that, get the ball rolling with that. But I'm curious to see how much this year, we went to what pick, was it 14 last year when we got the first defensive player in Dallas Turner? Was it Dallas Turner and then Latu for the Colts? So, definitely defense is going to go way earlier than that. Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter is going probably 2 of the top 4, at most 2 of the top 5. So, with all that said, clapping water here. Let's get into the mock draft. And as we go, we're going to talk about the teams and what they've done over the last 10 years or so with their draft picks and what they need. When you look at Tennessee, obviously Tennessee is first. Let's go ahead and get this done. We know who they're taking. Even though he's far down on this board. I'm going to scroll. Cam Ward, obviously. Go ahead and get that out the way. So Cam Ward has been taken number 1. Let's talk about why they're taking him. They've, in the past, over the last 10 years, they've gone offense and defense, so they hadn't really had a trend one way or the other. As far as it goes, they've taken 4 offensive linemen in the first round, especially as of late. They've taken J.C. Latham and Peter Skoronski the last 2 years at picks 7 and 11. 2 wide receivers, likes of Treylon Burks, who has not panned out, to say the least, and Corey Davis. Had some peaks, had some valleys. 2 cornerbacks. Could they blow us away and take a cornerback this year in Travis Hunter? I don't think so. Cam Ward has come out and, he's talked about the Fortnite stream. What was that, 2 nights ago when they asked him his top running backs, and he said Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. And then he said A.J. Brown was a dog, but he's not. Calvin Ridley, I believe, is his top wide receiver. It's given. who they're taking with the first overall pick at this point. They've only taken one quarterback in the past 10 years, and that was Marcus Mariota at number 2. So, I mean, the trends kind of line up. They're taking a quarterback. We know what's happening. Why do they need a quarterback? They were next to worst on pass play percentage on first down. They were always behind the sticks. They have Will Levis as their starter. If they don't draft Cam Ward, they were 27th in points per game at 18.7, 26th in yards per game at just over 300. When you look at Cam Ward, I mean, he's super confident to a fault sometimes. He does have poise in the pocket. He's improved his footwork over the last year. Dual threat quarterback, does have the foot speed if need be. And he has the arm to make those, I've said it many times before, like those unorthodox. It reminds me of Jordan Love with those types of throws. That's why they need him. That's why they're taking him at number 1. We don't have to dwell on this for a long time because we know what's happening with that. 20 minutes in and we've made one pick, finally. Okay. All right. So number 2. What do I want to do at number 2, or what do I think will happen? I don't think that the Browns are taking Shedeur Sanders. It's either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. I don't think you can go wrong with either one. Travis Hunter probably would come in and play. All right, let's talk about his dual threat ability. First off, you bring in Travis Hunter. I would say it's easier to start him as a cornerback and put in a package of 15 to 20 plays as a wide receiver, because you could, 10 of those plays could be bubble screens, either as a decoy or actually getting the ball. So it's much easier in my mind to have him learn the cornerback position. I'd say he doesn't know it, but to learn it at NFL level and sprinkle him in on the offensive side of the ball instead of the opposite. You have him being a wide receiver and then trying to fill in as a cornerback. Filling in as a cornerback on a defensive side of the ball where the defense has to work together seems much more difficult to do than having him play primarily cornerback. He's come out and said he wants to do both. Won't play if he can't do both. They really don't have a trend with what they've done in the past. When you look at their tendencies on what they've drafted most, they've traded away their picks for Deshaun Watson as of late. But the most drafted positions are 2 defensive linemen. That was Myles Garrett and Danny Shelton in 2015. Then they have 2 offensive linemen, Jedrick Wills and Cam Irving, who didn't pan out. So there's really no trend with what they've done. They've had years where they haven't had a first-round pick, obviously, like I said. Abdul Carter, the argument for him is to bring him in and pair him with the likes of Myles Garrett, have arguably from week 1 the toughest, most demonstrative defensive line in the NFL, DN duo in the NFL between Abdul Carter and Myles Garrett. With that said, I do believe they're going to go Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter is... They probably need a quarterback more, but you can't take Shedeur at that point in the draft. It's way too rich for my taste. Travis Hunter is one of the 2 blue chip talents in this draft between he and Abdul Carter. Would I be surprised if they take Shedeur? Not necessarily, but I don't think that they should. When you look at Travis Hunter and what this defense really needs, let's see. Let me bring up their defense real quick. Let's see. 1 second. We will bring up their defense and look at their depth chart. Let's see. Stop. Share screen. Let's go to this. Share. There we go. All right. So looking at their depth chart here for the Cleveland Browns. Look at the defense. The front four will be fine just because they have Myles Garrett. When you look at that secondary, it's not the best. Some of these players had down years. How much of that was due to them just playing from behind whenever they had the likes of Deshaun Watson or DTR under center? Grant Delpit, I mean, look, let's see. Let me scroll down a little bit. Sorry, my thing is blocking it there. There you go. You got Greg Newsome as the nickel. Martin Emerson, who has been all right, but I mean, you add Travis Hunter to the secondary and it revamps it. Front four is already good, so go Travis Hunter. Can't go wrong with that. You get offensive and defensive playmaking from him. Let's go back to our draft. So, through 2 picks now. And moving along, we are at number 3 now with the New York Giants. What's crazy is the fact that they are going to have Shedeur Sanders have another workout, which is kind of weird at this point in draft season. We are less than a week away, and they are having another private workout with him. So someone's not agreeing in that front office or with the coaches potentially as to what they want to do. It's kind of weird to me. I still don't think they take him number 3 overall. I wouldn't be surprised if they take Jackson Dart. I feel like Shedeur's draft stock is just falling. Could they trade back at this point? I don't know that they necessarily should. So with that said, I don't think they're taking a quarterback. Their tendencies in the past have been to, it's been split, wide receivers and defensive linemen. Get the numbers on them. One second. So like I said, wide receivers and defensive linemen. And when you look at what they've done over the last 10 years, where is it at? Here we go. 2 offensive tackles, 2 cornerbacks. Everything else just been split. They have a front 4 right now of Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, and whoever they want to put in, honestly. If they're not taking Tit, I don't think he's too rich to take him at this point. Mason Graham, potentially you could put him inside. But they do need tackle help. But now you're really reaching. If they don't trade, assuming no one trades, we don't have any trades yet, I would not trade. I would draft Abdul Carter. Pair him. You could put Kayvon Thibodeau on the trade block. Have the likes of Abdul Carter, Dexter Lawrence, and Brian Burns, 3 of those front 4. You have the best front 4 in the NFL probably at that point. I don't think there's really much of an argument to have a better one. Philadelphia could have said that, but they've lost Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick, Milton Williams. So they're out of the picture. You bring in Abdul Carter. Their D-line was good, but you don't want to pass up that blue chip talent at number 3. Moving on to number 4. This is where we start to get a little more interesting as we continue to go. New England Patriots. What have they done as of late? Have some misses. That's what they've done as of late. Let's get their list of their last 10 draft picks here. All right, so, I say some misses. They had Sony Michel, N'Keal Harry, Mac Jones, Cole Strange, and then the last 2 years they had Christian Gonzalez and Drake May. Those 2 have definitely been hits. 2 offensive linemen, that's the most frequent position. And could they follow it up this year with another offensive lineman? Obviously, this team's needs are offensive linemen and then wide receiver, running back. They tried to address the defense a lot in the offseason and the free agency. When you look at what they need, it's that meme of Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, where it's like, oh, you don't have nobody to protect you, but he's throwing to a great receiver. I mean, what's really worked out better is Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase and not having an offensive line versus Justin Herbert having an offensive line but no one to throw to. I mean, we see who's won that battle. So when you look at the draft here, when you look at, take a step back, offensive line that they need, why they need help. They currently have, let me name you their offensive lineman. They're starting offensive lineman right now. Vidarian Lowe at left tackle, Cole Strange at left guard, Garrett Bradbury, who they brought in because David Andrews retired, Mike Onwenu, and Morgan Moses, who they also brought in. So they definitely need offensive line help. Their wide receivers, they did bring in Stephon Diggs, so they somewhat addressed that. Kayshon Boutte and Pop Douglas. You have those players. What's worse? Probably the offensive lineman, because when you look at what they had last year, the quarterback was pressured at the highest rate in the NFL at 41%, ran the second least play action at just 15%, probably due to the fact that if they ran play action, the Drake May is under pressure instantly. The average ranking per PFF of their top 5 offensive linemen was 57th. Terrible. So with that said, I mean, I feel like it's almost a given. It's just taking an offensive lineman, but do you want to take Will Campbell or Armand Membu out of Missouri? Me, or what I think that they'll do, let me say that. What I think they will do is go Armand Membu. I don't know that they truly want Will Campbell. He's had the talks of his arms being too short, could kick him into guard. He's been a starter since he's been at LSU, but the upside of Armand Membu with his athletic prowess is very enticing to me. He's an athletic freak. He could play with more power, but his length and his mobility make up for any flaws that you have with him. He definitely can show up that left tackle position for Drake May. I can't get over the athleticism with him, and I would not want to pass him up if I'm the Patriots. So they have him being taken at number 4, which will affect some of the teams coming up. Number 5, we look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. What have they done as of late, or as of last 10 years? It's been mostly defense with this team. I mean, they've drafted, 3, 5, 7, 8 of, 3, 5, 1, 2. Oh, they've had more than 10 picks. That's why. Sorry. They've had 12 picks in the last 10 years, with 5, 7, 8 of the 12 being on the defensive side of the ball. And that's probably where they need to go this year, because the defense was absolutely god-awful last year. When you look at their defense, they had a bottom 10 run D, positive EPA per rush allowed. They have not had an interior presence since 2017 with Avery Jones and Malik Jackson. They allowed the most pass yards per game at 257, which to me, okay, cool, you had the worst passing defense. But what stands out about that is the fact that they were playing from behind so much that those numbers should be skewed in their favor. So if they're still giving up the most pass yards per game when they're always behind, speaks to how terrible they are. Gave up 7.1 yards per pass, positive 0.14 EPA per pass, all the worst in the league. Second worst EPA per play. I mean, every analytical piece of data shows that the defense was terrible. They took a great offensive player last year in Brian Thomas Jr. They have hit in the draft in the first round with Trayvon Walker. I mean, has he been worth the number 1 overall pick? No, but he has been serviceable for sure. I think he had around 10 sacks last year, if I want to say. Then Devin Lloyd, who is their linebacker now, but they did miss out on years past with Clavon Chason in the first round, CJ Henderson in the first round. And then before that, Josh Hines Allen, which is a good hit. Taven Bryan. I mean, they've had highs, they've had lows, but when you look at who's starting for them now on that defense, let's see. You have Josh Hines Allen and Trayvon Walker, who are a solid duo for sure for your edge players. The middle of that defensive line, not as good. You do have Devin Lloyd and Alua Kuhn at the linebacker position. They bring in Jordan Lewis, who may be the best player in that secondary. Ideally, in the best case scenario, Travis Hunter falls to the Jags at 5, and that would be a dream come true. Shores up that secondary, which is probably the biggest area of need for this team, and also gives them another weapon on offense. As of the last few days, there's been speculation that they could take Ashton Jeanty with that 5th overall pick. Do they go best player available and take him? I don't know. It's kind of, I'm not comparing Jeanty to Kyle Pitts, but it's kind of in that same scenario, especially in this draft when you can get another running back much later on in the draft, 2nd, 3rd round for sure. But with that said, the options are Mason Graham on defense. I mean, you're not taking Ted at 4. You're not taking Will Campbell. Do you want to really reach and take Jahdae Barron? I mean, I think this is one of the more chalkier picks. You have to go Mason Graham, especially with that pass defense being what it was. I want to say outside of Josh Hines Allen and Trayvon Walker, they had like 5 or 6 sacks amongst the rest of the defensive linemen. So they need more help on that defensive line. Bring Mason Graham in to shore up that interior. I mean, with Mason Graham, it'll definitely help them out. It takes off the pressure off of those two. I mean, he has short arms. You've seen the video going around. He's fast. He's violent. He's a 3 tech. Everything else is great about him. You kind of really want him there in that defense. I don't see why you really wouldn't take him at this point and just shore up that interior defensive line. So we have 5 picks. Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Armand Membu, Mason Graham. Kind of chalky. Armand's probably the biggest one out of the top 5 that's kind of surprising. But we move on to number 6. At number 6, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. What are they going to do? They have missed numerous times in the first round over previous years, to say the least. When you look at their first round picks, get you their stats on what they've done as of the last decade. 2 wide receivers. They did hit last year with Brock Bowers at the tight end. Then they took Tyree Wilson in 2023, who has not panned out. Alex Leatherwood, one of the worst first-round picks. Arnett, the cornerback in 2020, in jail. Henry Ruggs in jail. Jonathan Abram did not pan out as a first-round pick. Josh Jacobs was good. Cleveland Farrell at 4th overall, maybe worse than taking Alex Leatherwood at 17th. Colton Miller, serviceable. Garyon Conley in 2017, terrible. Carl Joseph, not the best choice. Amari Cooper at 4 in 2015, solid for sure. So, with all that said, what are they going to do this year? Their needs at 6. Let me bring up what they have here. All right, let's see. Las Vegas Raiders. I have them with their biggest needs being running back, wide receiver, and cornerback in that order. With that said, I mean, this is simple to me. They were the worst running team last year, partially due to the fact that they didn't have a serviceable quarterback that could take pressure off the run. They average, I want to say, like 79 rush yards per game, which is god-awful. Offensive options. The defense needs help, but the run game needs more help. And with the best player available at this point at 6, I mean, it's simple to me. Just take Ashton Jeanty. He is possibly a generational player. Taking him at 6 overall, if you miss, you miss. No one's going to tell you took the wrong player because everyone in their right mind would take Ashton Jeanty at 6. Last year, he had almost 2,600 yards on the ground, almost 7 yards per carry, and 29 touchdowns. Because right now in their backfield, again, they could get a running back later on, but they're not taking Tet. They're not taking an offensive lineman. I mean, the only argument of who else they could take, do they go like Mike Green, Will Johnson, Jahdae Barron? I don't think so. But right now, their running backs, Raheem Mostert, Sincere McCormick. That's their top 2 running backs. Got to take Ashton Jeanty, hope for the best, move forward. Moving on, number 7. The Jets. What do they need? I mean, they have a pretty solid roster. I don't think they're Shedeur still on the board. Do they take him at 7? Jackson Dart's there, obviously. They have Justin Fields, who they signed on a 1-year, basically $30 million guaranteed contract. It's a 2-year, $40 million. That's a whole nother discussion. Interesting to see what they're going to do because they brought in a pass game coordinator who is from Detroit, who did not ever run anything in the world of what Justin Fields runs as a quarterback or run first offense. So interesting to see how that plays out. But do they shock the world and take Shedeur at 7? I don't think so. I think that's a little rich for their blood. I think Aaron Glenn realizes they're still a year away just by the fact that they signed Justin Fields. They didn't go all out and sign the likes of Sam Darnold. They didn't trade for Geno Smith. Got rid of Aaron Rodgers. Got rid of Devontae Adams. So I think quarterback's out of the question. And I do believe that, I mean, it says on here, biggest needs, quarterback, wide receiver, tackle, defensive interior. Tet McMillan, it wouldn't be the craziest of things because as of right now, they just have who? Garrett Wilson. I mean, what's their offense look like outside of the backfield? Garrett Wilson, Josh Reynolds is wide receiver number 2. Malachi Corley didn't show anything. Alan Lazard. And then their tight end currently is Jeremy Ruckert and Stone Smart from the Chargers last year. So wide receiver is definitely a place of need. And, you know, I was definitely leaning offensive line here. You know, they have Olu Fashanu they took in the first round last year. Great pick. Left tackle for you right there. John Simpson, Joe Tipman, Elijah Vera Tucker. They could take Will Campbell here and shore up that offensive line, move him to right tackle maybe. No, it's not his position. I don't know if they want to move him. So the more I think about this, Tet McMillan, they need another weapon for Justin Fields. The offensive line is good enough, serviceable at minimum. They have electric playmakers in the backfield already. It's just trying to make the rich get richer with that offensive line. I mean, I feel like the wide receiver and the playmakers, especially being that they don't have a tight end as well. Could they take Tyler Warren? Yes. But getting someone with the playmaking ability of Tet McMillan, his 40 time was not the best. I mean, you know, a lot of mocks have him dropping all the way to like Dallas at 12. I mean, do I think that's what's going to happen? Not necessarily, but he's good, you know, good with his hands, good physical playmaker at the catch point. They even line him up opposite of Garrett Wilson. I would not be surprised if they make this pick at 7. Get another playmaker for the future. You find out if Justin Fields is going to be your quarterback. I mean, you got to give him the opportunity to make a case for himself, because if he doesn't have any options with just Garrett Wilson and no tight ends, then what do you do? Like I said, the offensive line is good enough. He's mobile enough that he can alleviate some of the offensive line issues. Go Tet. So that's probably one of the bigger first surprises right there. Here's our first 7. So moving on to number 8, the Carolina Panthers are extremely upset at this point. They have lost out on Ted McMillan, who they were going to draft for Bryce Young, who was going to be their go-to wide receiver one. They need a wide receiver one. Adam Thielen is getting up in age. I mean, they were last in yards after the catch last year. They only had one player that was over 600 yards in Adam Thielen, who I just mentioned, who is old. No one to consistently go to. You had the flare-up of Jalen Coker towards the end of the season. Xavier Legette had only 50 receptions, 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. Nothing special. Was only good on intermediate routes. They've lost out. They've missed out on their wide receiver. Their wide receiver one that Bryce Young needs so desperately. My needs for them are edge, wide receiver, and cornerback, which is what PFF has as well, just having it in a different order. So now there's no wide receiver to take here because, when you look at the wide receivers, let's go to the wide receivers. Best available, Luther Burden. That is way too rich to take him at this point in the draft. So with that said, you now have the options of shoring up that front four, because right now your front four, they did make some signings in the offseason. They re-signed, they extended J.C. Horn. He was their best player, arguably, with Derrick Brown. They shore him up to keep him there, CB1 for the future. They have Derrick Brown coming back from injury. But the rest of that defense, so front four is Derrick Brown, Bobby Brown III, Tarshawn Wharton out of KC, Jadeveon Clowney. Front four, Linebacker position, Josie Jewell, Trevin Wallace, who they drafted in the 3rd round last year, and Christian Roseboom. Back, that secondary, you have J.C. Horn, Smith Wade, who they drafted in the 5th round last year, Damani Richardson, Trayvon Merrick, who they just signed, Mike Jackson. That secondary is looking problematic. Very, very problematic. They were like bottom 3 in almost every defensive category. They did make some moves in the offseason, like I said. What have they done in the past? When you look at their tendencies, let me bring them up here. They have selected mostly front 7 defenders in the 1st round, going defense. Is that what they're going to do this year? I think they stay away from that front 7, especially when you have you have 2 options right here at cornerback. Will Johnson, who is ranked 14th. Last year, he was top 5. I don't know why PFF has him at 14th. Or could they go the likes of Jahdae Barron? Do they have all that? Let's see. What am I looking for here? Trying to see if they had all their 40 times. They don't have it on here. Anyways, Jahdae Barron improved his draft stock as of late. Will Johnson has not necessarily, because he hasn't worked out. The argument between the 2 of those, who would you want if you're a Carolina Panthers fan? Will Johnson had some injuries last year, so you're worried about the injuries with him. Jahdae Barron, he's very versatile. This defense has a lot of holes. He could really, he's naturally a zone defender, but he has excellent instincts. He could potentially be an all-pro at safety, cornerback, nickel. They really are trying to redo that secondary. For me, it's hard to argue going against him. You could take Walter Nolan. I think this is very rich having him at 8. Look at the average draft position of him at 20. Will Johnson's 14. I'm going Jahdae Barron if I'm the Carolina Panthers. Instantly CB2 in this defense with J.C. Horn. Can move him around. Evero is the defensive coordinator. A lot to do with him there. 9. Now we're getting really interesting. Like I mentioned earlier, the Saints definitely have some choices to make. Do they have a quarterback for 2025? I don't know. Does anybody know? Derek Carr, we've talked about the ups and downs with him. 5-5 last year, 0-7. They had around a 40-point drop off in passer rating. Touchdown to interception ratio went from 3-1 to less than 1-1. Their needs per PFF, running back, wide receiver, defensive line, the needs that I have for them at 9, they could definitely be a trade-up candidate. Cornerback, wide receiver, and offensive line. So at cornerback, you do have Will Johnson here. I mean, the picks that they still have remaining picks, future. They have a second and third, but I mean, they're midway into the second. Is Jackson Dart or Shedeur still going to be there at 9? I mean, in the second round, it's hard to bank on that. Their defense is aging. They have so many holes on this team. They're cap strapped. They made the stupid move of restructuring Derek Carr instead of cutting bait. They owe him $69 million. He has a $69 million cap hit in 2026. Quarterback options are Shedeur, Jackson Dart. If you go outside of quarterback, if you're the Saints, you're looking at the likes of Will Johnson. Luther Burden is probably too rich at this point, even though they could use more help, especially when you don't know what's going to happen with Chris Olave. I mean, there's a lot of speculation with him. Do they go Will Campbell? He's falling at this point. The Saints, I mean, they've made some crazy moves. But you know what they haven't done? They have not taken a quarterback the last decade. It seems like they've taken quarterback after quarterback later in the draft. None of them have panned out. None of them. And this year they end the drought. Man, they got Jackson Dart down here at 132. My Lord. And they go all in with the Colorado Buffalo and Shedeur Sanders. The reason I think they do this is because they're so cap strapped that they have to make a splash play and bring in a quarterback. It's probably the most cost savings position in the first round. They have a potential for a 5th-year option with him. I'll sit here and I want them to say, oh, we realized our mistakes. It's almost maybe a blessing in disguise if Derek Carr's injury is truthful and he's out for 2025 and they know they cannot run it back with Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener. They have to make a splash move and improve on the future and take a quarterback. I don't think Jackson Dart goes as high. There's been too many links of them with Shedeur at 9. And I feel like that's who they take. They try to build into the future. Kellen Moore can do something with a quarterback. And I think it's Shedeur. So, top 9, going on to 10. Chicago Bears. They have a pretty solid roster. I mean, they've made moves in the offseason, bringing in Grady Jarrett, Odeyingbo from Indianapolis. Front 4 looks a lot better. Who else have they brought in? Oh, sorry. Forgetting about the entire offensive line. Joe Thuney was traded for. Jonah Jackson was traded for. They signed Drew Dahlman, a new center. I mean, they've really brought in some players for sure. Alameda Zaccheaus is brought in as that slot wide receiver 3. They still have DJ Moore, Roma Dunze. So, I mean, offensive line is potentially a need just because they have not – that Joe Thuney's older. Jonah Jackson is not a sure thing. He was 2 years ago, but then he fell down the depth chart in Los Angeles after that. You already have your right tackle in Darnell Wright. So is Braxton Jones your left tackle for the future? You have options of Will Campbell still there on the board. There's been a lot of mocks with them taking Omarion Hampton, which is way down this list, especially is he RB2 in this draft? Yeah, absolutely. But, I mean, you're really reaching at this point. There's some good names that you see here. But, I mean, I think it's as simple as if Will Campbell's still on the board at 10, you take him. Left tackle, worst thing, move him into guard. Joe Thuney is in his last year What happens if you don't get that contract? Will Campbell shore up what Ben Johnson already wants to do in building that offensive line and go into the future. Oh, we got to speed up. We're 56 minutes in and have done 10 picks. But, we got a lot to say about all these teams here and what they need to do to build upon their future going forward. Sorry, catching my breath a little bit, And we are moving on to pick number 11. Number 11, San Francisco 49ers. Man, have they revamped this team in the offseason. They've had a lot of players that they've had to let go as of late. Deebo Samuel for sure. Brandon Ayuk's coming off the injury. Christian McCaffrey's injury prone. Leonard Floyd lost in free agency. Was it Javon Hargrave? I always get them confused. Lost. Let go. Still have Fred Warner, but they lost Dre Greenlaw, who goes to Denver. They lose Charvarius Ward. I mean, there's a lot of turnover for sure. Nick Bosa is still there on that front four. My needs for this team: defensive linemen in general, D tackle, and they could double dip with defensive linemen, defensive end, D tackle, and then offensive linemen. When you look at who's here, they have guard tackle as their top two needs, and then defensive linemen. I don't think they go Malachi Starks. They don't go Tyler Warren. Jihad Campbell, a little too rich for them, especially when they have Fred Warner to cover up some of the issues of not having a linebacker. LB2 on this team right now. Mike Green, Will Johnson still on the board. Cornerback is a need. When you look at their offensive linemen, they still have Trent Williams, but how much time do they have left with Trent Williams? Ben Barch is their guard. Drake Brendel, center. Dominic Puny, Cole McKivitz. That offensive line looks a little rough. They are hoping and praying whenever they saw Will Campbell still available at 10 that the Bears would pass on him. They do have the likes of Nick Bosa. They bring in Robert Saleh, who was a defensive guru there just a few years back, spends his time in New York, and now he's back in San Francisco. They have Nick Bosa. They have Fred Warner. They also lost Talanoa Hufanga to the Broncos as well. While that defense is in a lot of need, I mean, you want an offensive lineman, so ideally it would be, let's trade back. Best available on here, Josh Simmons, Kelvin Banks, Greg Zabel. Do you go Greg Zabel, who is can be moved around a lot? Man, you want to say that Kyle Shanahan is just offensive guru and can work around, because at this point in the draft, there is not an offensive tackle or offensive lineman that I would take at 11 based on who's available if Will Campbell and Armand Mambu are gone. So with that said, my top three choices that I'm looking at for them would be Will Johnson, who could be CB2 behind Travis Hunter for sure. Do we bring in the likes of Luther Burden? I don't think so. Donovan Ezaraku, Kenneth Grant. I mean, I feel like Jalen Walker could potentially go here. But when you look at these options, I feel like it's just a easy choice for me, Will Johnson. They do have the defense. Their current cornerbacks, Diamador, I always get his first name wrong, Lenore, who they drafted just a few years ago in the 5th round, who's been a pleasant surprise. Trey Brown from Seattle that they got. I mean, they signed Jason Pinnock, Richie Grant in the secondary. I mean, Renardo Green, Malik Mustafa. These players are, not household names to say the least, for sure. So I think you take Will Johnson. He could be amazing if he drops all the way to 11 to the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, I don't really have him as a top 3 need, but I think he may be best player available. That's if you don't go the likes of Jalen Walker, who you could argue that they need to take, but they already have Nick Bosa up front. Obviously, they could use another edge player. It's going to be hard for them to pass up Will Johnson whenever they have the needs that they do in the secondary. Will Johnson falls to 11, goes to San Francisco. Number 12, Dallas Cowboys. What nonsense will they pull this year? When you look back at what they've done over the past, Mozzie Smith 2 years ago. Who did they take last year? I'm blanking out. Mozzie Smith 2 years ago. Tyler Smith, Micah Parsons. They've been rather decent. They took Zeke Elliott, Byron Jones 10 years ago, Leighton Vander Esch, Taco Charlton, Travis Frederick. No. They've had some hits and some misses for sure. Been spread all out. Their needs that I have for them: cornerback, running back, wide receiver. In that order. Running back is definitely a need because they stupidly let Rico Dowdle go, who was their best option in that backfield. And now they are going to be struggling because now their backfield is Miles Sanders, Javonte Williams. Good luck and God bless. When you look in the secondary, Malik Hooker, Donovan Wilson, Deron Bland, Trayvon Diggs, who was injured. So you could argue either running back or cornerback for that position, that first round pick. Let's look at what's available. I mean, the defensive line, could they take another edge player? They brought in Dante Fowler, who had a bounce back year, almost 9.5 sacks, I believe, last year in Washington. They have Mozzie Smith. They have Osa Odigizua, who has been, his stock is steadily rising. They just signed him to that huge extension after franchise tagging him. And then they also have Micah Parsons, who is just one of the best linebackers in the NFL, one of the best players in the NFL. Their front four is pretty solid. Running back may be more of an issue than cornerback. Let's look at our running back and cornerback options at this point. I think they have to go one of the two. Ted McMillan did not fall to them to take a wide receiver. Let's just throw in the wide receivers. Luther Burden, could they go that route? I don't think so. I mean, the top 3 players per PFF left at this point are wide receivers. Omarion Hampton is going to be very tempting. Trey Amos. I mean, there's cornerbacks. You're really digging deep after those first 3 in Jahdae Barron, Will Johnson, Travis Hunter. I mean, given what's left on the board, I feel like Walter Nolan, Jihad Campbell, no. I mean, Overshawn, is he going to be ready for the start of the season? I don't think so, but I don't think they take Jihad Campbell to pair with him. They could go offensive line, but they're too flashy of a team. Colston Loveland's there, coming off the injury, shoulder injury, I want to say. I think they take the most reasonable approach and go running back, Omarion Hampton. What are you getting in Omarion Hampton? An amazing player, to say the least. I mean, they let Rico Dowdle go, like I said earlier. They were third to last in EPA per rush, but Rico Dowdle was their saving grace, especially in the second half of that season. He definitely came to play late in that season, having, I want to say it was the second highest percentage of runs that got 3 or more yards after contact. He's a good player that is now in Carolina, who is RB2 and a running back by committee with Chuba Hubbard. So with Omarion Hampton, I mean, he comes in, he's instantly RB1. He's the most physically gifted running back outside of Genty in this draft. He's a combination of size, power, lower body strength, explosiveness. He could be a slasher type in like a zone run scheme. And they have a good offensive line, I would say, as far as the run game goes. Good enough for sure. In Dallas, Omarion Hampton is pick number 12 in Dallas. They want somebody flashy to be behind Dak Prescott. All right, almost halfway there. Pick number 13, Miami Dolphins. This has changed as of late because you have lost Teron Armstead. PFF has them needing guard and tackle as their top two positions, defensive interior and cornerback. I have them needing offensive lineman, defensive lineman, and safety. So, with that said, I mean, there's some good names here. I think they go Zabel here. Very versatile player. 5-position lineman. Like I said, Teron Armstead retires. He has elite arm length. He's projected center or guard, but he could fit anywhere. And then when you look at what happened with the Dolphins last year was part of their offense, or part of their scheme, I should say. But Tua had the lowest time to throw at 2.42. The next lowest was 2.55. Yes, I get that that has to do with the fact that Tua is more of in a scheme of he knows where he's going to throw before it's even open based on what Mike McDaniel has ran for him there. With that said, I don't think you can pass up this versatility of Zabel at number 13, especially with Teron Armstead retiring. I mean, when you look at their offensive line, let me name you their starters. Patrick Paul is their left tackle. Liam Eichenberg, Aaron Brewer, James Daniels was brought in from Pittsburgh off of injury, which is good, and Austin Jackson. Definitely need to protect Tua because without him, we see what happens with the offense. He's definitely the scheme quarterback. But without him, it falls to pieces. It tremendously falls to pieces. And Greg Zabel is there. I mean, I just don't think you can argue. They do have areas of need, especially with Jalen Ramsey. What's going to happen with him? Tyreek Hill, is this more of a reshuffling of the deck? I wouldn't say a rebuild, but you want to build in the trenches. And Zabel is there for the taking. Take him at pick number 13. Move on with your life. I mean, you still have the likes of Mike Green, Ezaraku, I mean, Jalen Walker. But no, Greg Zabel is there. 14. We're not going to spend much time on this because this is pretty – I mean, if he's still here, this is probably the most chalky pick of the draft outside of number 1. The Colts, I want to say, had – hold on, let me bring it up. I just tweeted it today, honestly, about how terrible their tight end room was last year. Let me get these exact numbers so you don't want to miss how bad they were. Their last 3 tight ends that they drafted was Will Mallory, Jelani Woods, and Andrew Ogletree. Their 4 tight ends in 2024 had a combined stat line of 39 receptions, 467 yards, 2 touchdowns. 39, 467, and 2. When I tell you that is god-awful, that would be a mediocre, at best, stat line for a tight end in general, not the entire tight end room. Let me tell you who they got there as of right now, tight end. I do say they need offensive line and linebacker too. What does PFF say they need? Tight end, guard, edge, linebacker, safety, whatever. Don't really care because their tight ends right now, Drew Ogletree, Mo Alley-Cox. You saw what you got out of them last season with those 2 players. Don't do this again. This is straightforward as it gets. Give them Tyler Warren, whoever your quarterback's going to be, out of Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson. That's all. That's one of the more interesting or intriguing situations, storylines in the NFL. I spoke on that whenever I did my power rankings with the Indianapolis Colts. But to summarize, Daniel Jones is your bar. If you can't be better than Daniel Jones in the NFL, you don't need to be a starter, and that's what they're doing with Anthony Richardson. This is his year. If you can't beat him out in camp or throughout the season, it's over. Anyways, they have weapons on the offensive side of the ball. They have Jonathan Taylor. They have Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, Mitchell that they drafted last year. I mean, they have 4 serviceable at minimum, wide receivers. But they have such a awful tight end room that they have to get Tyler Warren, especially when he could be the top tight end in the draft. He's definitely a playmaker, can just run people over, obviously. Take Tyler Warren, go on about your day. With all their weapons, let's see. This is about the Colts. With all their weapons, how much positional camp battling do you see? I'm assuming you're meaning with the wide receivers. I would not be surprised. I spoke about this whenever I did the Indianapolis episode before. Them trading one of these players. Who would they trade out of the 4 wide receivers and Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, and Mitchell? It's too early to let go of Mitchell, I do believe, at this point. Josh Downs, up and down. Here, well, I got their statistics. Let me get this brought up real quick. I mean, my gut feeling is Alec Pierce is the one that would be the odd man out. What could you get for him? A mid-round pick? For sure. Definitely could get a mid-round pick for the likes of Alec Pierce. He has just solely been a deep ball threat for Indianapolis, and it's not been much more than that. Let me bring up their numbers from last year. Like I said, we have them taking Tyler Warren because this is just such a straightforward need. It's like one of the most clear needs out of any team in the NFL going into the draft. Outside of the teams that just need quarterbacks, this is such a need for them. So last year, their wide receiver room, they had 800 yards, 824, 808, 803, and 312. Mitchell was the lowest. He was obviously the worst of last year. Played 17 games, but I think it's too early to give up on him. Josh Downs, I like him more as a player. Michael Pittman, they signed him. They're keeping him. He's got sure hands, I would say. Lowest catch percentage, or second lowest, was Alec Pierce. He did have the highest receiving EPA, highest yards per target, but I feel like that's fool's gold just because Anthony Richardson, that's the only thing he could throw was deep balls. And with those deep balls, I don't really know that he plays into the future. It's probably the highest quality or the highest that you can get for him at any given point. And I say go for it. Go ahead and you have 4 receivers. You're not going to use them all. And see what happens. Tyler Warren, number 14. Case closed. Move on with your life. All right. Back to this. We spent way too long talking about Tyler Warren and what's going to happen with this Indianapolis team. Again, like I said, one of the more intriguing storylines, maybe the most intriguing, is Anthony Richardson's career over in Indianapolis. I don't know. Positional battle, Michael Pittman needs to go back to being wide receiver 1, but I don't know if he's going to be that. And this year will be very telling because if Anthony Richardson cannot improve on that short accuracy in year 3, if he can stay on the field with the health issues between he and Daniel Jones, if they could be average at best, that team could be playing for the playoffs, especially in the AFC South with the Titans, who have the number 1 pick. The Titans have number 1 pick. The Jags are not competing for the AFC South, and the Texans, their offensive line away from being great, but I mean the entire offensive line is god awful. So, see what happens with the Indianapolis Colts. Number 15. Now we're getting to the good part of the draft. Midway through, what do we need if we are the Atlanta Falcons? PFF has wide receiver, center, edge, linebacker. What do I say they need? Defensive line, edge. I mean, well, they can double dip on defensive line and cornerback. When you look at this team's depth chart, obviously their defense was god awful last year. Thought it was going to be a little better. Not the case. Offense, I mean, their offense is set. They have their quarterback. They have their running back. They have their wide receiver 1 in Drake London. They have their wide receiver 2 in Darnell Mooney. Tight end is kind of a question mark, but there's not a tight. I don't think they're taking Colston Loveland. Would I be surprised? They did take Michael Penix Jr. last year after they signed Kirk Cousins, which in hindsight was a great move, even though they owe Kirk Cousins $40 million to be a backup quarterback right now. So the offense seems pretty set. The offensive line is great. They did lose Drew Dahlman, but Ryan Newsiel had one of the best pass block win rates in the NFL, especially amongst centers whenever he was playing last year. When you look at the defense, their defensive front four, they cut Grady Jarrett. So their defensive front four, Morgan Fox, David Onyemata, Arnold Ebiketie, Braylon Trice. Braylon Trice didn't get a chance to play last year. What's going to happen to him this year? Hopefully we get to see him. He's their third-round pick, so I'm interested to see what happens. But Arnold Ebiketie has not panned out to be anything that you expect him to be as far as a second-round pick. You look at their linebackers. Troy Anderson's nothing but speed. They bring in a secondary speed threat in Divine Diablo, who, if you are a Madden player, that's your linebacker that you want to use her at all times, Divine Diablo or Troy Anderson. But this is real life, not Madden. They did bring in Leonard Floyd to shore up that front four. Kind of a rich contract, $10 million, I want to say. Secondary, Mike Hughes brought back. Jesse Bates is there. Jordan Fuller brought in. AJ Terrell, D. Alford. What stands out to me? Defensive linemen. Got to get some defensive linemen. They were next to last in sacks last year with 31. They were 8th worst against the run versus when you look at EPA per play. So what do we have left here? Defensive linemen. Why does this say they need wide receiver? Wide receiver? I just realized that it says wide receiver is their needs. They have Drake London and Darnell Mooney. Definitely don't need wide receiver. I don't think they need a center. Ryan Newsiel, as far as the advanced analytics go, was a great center in his limited time playing last year. So with that said, who do we have available as far as defensive linemen? Walter, let's just look at I need to bring that up. All right, Walter Nolan, Mike Green, Donovan Ezeraku, Kenneth Grant, James Pierce, Jalen Walker. Jalen Walker. It's very tempting right here. Jalen Walker and Mike Green are my two choices. Very tempting to take Jalen Walker. But if I am the Atlanta Falcons, I am going the route of Mike Green and hope he can come from the small school and show out in a big way for the Atlanta Falcons. What you get with Mike Green, he was a 2-year starter. He did not play against the best competition. He did dominate whoever he did play, though. He had 2 games where he played against bigger opponents, and he definitely held his own and still played well. You think about him in the Senior Bowl. He came, ran over Josh Connerly, and went home. One of the top offensive linemen in the draft, and said, "You know what? I've shown enough here. My numbers speak for themselves. Take me with one of your top picks." I mean, he's elite with pass rush and run D. He was in the 90th percentile in pass rush win rate and run stopping. He projects as an outside linebacker in 3-4, but he also showed that he could be more versatile. I want to say at his pro day, he showed he could do some linebacker play as well. Do they need it? Yes, they need anything they can get. And like I said earlier, they were next to last in sacks last year with 31. He had 18 last year by himself. I know it's 2 different NFL college, but if you are the Falcons, you cannot pass up the opportunity to take Mike Green. Moving on, Arizona Cardinals. And what do they need? PFF says they need guard, defensive lineman, and cornerback. What do I say they need? Offensive lineman, edge, and wide receiver. Actually, but what stands out to me, I say list the needs, and I'm looking at it right now. What do they need more than that? The linebacker that is available here at 16. Could they go the route of taking someone like Ezraku, James Pierce, Jalen Walker? Potentially. Could they take one of these tackles? Yeah, but if I'm the Cardinals at 16 and Jihad Campbell is still available, I am taking him. I'm running to the podium, and I am going up there instantly. Give me Jihad Campbell. Don't even let the clock run out. I know we do that every year with every pick. We let the clock run all the way down to 0. We have to drag this thing out. No reason for it. If you are the Arizona Cardinals, go get Jihad Campbell. I mean, there's no way you can pass him up. He's the ideal build. He's athletic. He can play at any linebacker spot. Maybe he needs to improve his anticipation and his strength. But, I mean, their linebackers right now in Arizona, Mack Wilson, Mykal Walker. I'm okay. And they have a Davis Gaither that they got from Cincinnati. If you get a defensive lineman or defensive players from Cincinnati, it's nothing amazing. So go get Jihad Campbell. Move on with your day. Don't need to discuss that anymore. And boy, does that upset the Cincinnati Bengals at 17 because they need defense. They are god-awful, as we know. They had one of the worst defensive seasons for a team that was amazing on offense. What do I think that they need? Edge players, safety, and linebacker. That's their top 3 needs. Somewhat in agreement with what PFF is saying here. And let's go back. We are halfway through, but before we continue, let's do a recap of what I think is going to happen based on analytical needs for these teams in the draft. Cam Ward's a given. Travis Hunter at 2. Abdul Carter at 3. No quarterbacks or one quarterback in the top 3. Then you have players like Armand Membu, who I think that the Patriots are going to take at 4. Mason Graham chalk to 5, chalk to 6. The Jets come up and get Ted McMillan at 7. Pair him with Garrett Wilson. Jahdae Barron is taking over Will Johnson at 8 because he's so versatile. The Saints know what they need to do in getting a quarterback for the future. Shedeur Sanders is picked. Will Campbell falls to 10. Will Johnson falls to 11. Omarion Hampton at 12. Zabel at 13, replacing the losses that they have in Miami. They have the retirement of Teron Armstead. Tyler Warren, Mike Green, Jihad Campbell. Sorry about that. All right, we are back in here. Let's see. So we are at 17. Why do they say that they need a guard? Do they need a guard? Sure, why not? But when you look at Cincinnati's defense, we know how bad they were last year. What's going to happen with Trey Hendrickson? They had 36 total sacks on this team, and 17.5 were from Trey Hendrickson. So they need help. And also, if you have any thoughts, any comments on what's been made so far, please share your thoughts. I know this is probably not the most chalky draft, but you never know what's going to happen. So when you look at this defense, there are holes anywhere and everywhere. Who's their best defensive player on the Bengals? Trey Hendrickson, obviously. Outside of Trey Hendrickson, you are having problems trying to find someone that is a top-tier defender on this team. You have Joseph Asai, B.J. Hill, Chris Jenkins Jr., Trey Hendrickson, like I mentioned, Jermaine Pratt, Logan Wilson, DJ Turner, Jordan Battle, Geno Stone, Cam Taylor-Britt, Dax Hill. If you are not a lover, is a bad word. If you are not an avid fan of the NFL, you cannot name no one besides Trey Hendrickson on this defense. Why would you go offense on this team when you already have Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase? So, with that said, Mike Green's off the board. Who do you take if you are the Cincinnati Bengals? It's Jalen Walker, in my opinion. You do have Walter Nolan. He's still falling. Ezra Raku's there. Kenneth Grant is there. I mean, you're going front four, especially if Trey Hendrickson is possibly on the move. James Pierce, there's too much volatility on where he's going to be. Nick Scorton is there, but I'm not taking him that early. Shamar Stewart, who showed out at the draft combine. I mean, with all these players, Jalen Walker is my pick. Why do I take Jalen Walker? I mean, you don't really want to pass him up for sure. He could go as early as 8, honestly, to Carolina, in my opinion. So there's a wide range for him. He's a hybrid linebacker edge player. He does have shorter arms, but the need's there. I mean, these Georgia players, they're always good. They continue to be good out of Georgia. And if you're the Bengals, do you even consider trading back at this point and getting more picks? You have so many holes on the defense, but we're not doing trades right now. There hasn't been any trades in real life, so we're not trading at this moment. So, with that said, let's take a quick break and
For the best Italian food in Western New York, Elliot Apollos, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Do Champions. FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Do Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Do Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.
quick reminder, follow us at Do Champions on every social media platform. You can follow myself, King NFL Stats, on every social media platform. Do Champions, especially if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, you can get all the content you need. I am not being a homer or biased when I say at Do Media, we have the best coverage of everything Buffalo. That includes the Sabres. As bad as they are, you get the greatest coverage and everything Buffalo Bills. Bills players join some of our shows, and everything you need is there. So please give us a follow us, subscribe on YouTube. And as we continue, appreciate it, Todd. Thanks for watching the show. Do the Panthers. The Panthers, what you want to know about the Panthers? They spend all right. Keep it coming with the comments. Love the feedback for sure. So we are at 18 right now. Pick number 18. Oh, what are the Seattle Seahawks going to do? They have surprised the world by moving on from Geno Smith, trade him away, did not want to give him an extension. He alleviated so many of those issues with their team, with their offensive line, I should say, and Did he have the best numbers from a topical view? No. But you know how many of those numbers he improved based on his numbers under pressure with his time to throw were above amazing. So Las Vegas is getting a good quarterback. I think he got a 2-year extension in Las Vegas. The Seahawks go out and get Sam Darnold and put him with an offensive line that has issues. We've seen what Sam Darnold could do and could not do once his offensive line fell apart in the playoffs. So I'm very intrigued to see how this plays out in Seattle. PFF has them needing a center, guard, and an edge. I have them needing at pick number 18, offensive lineman, wide receiver, and then probably offensive lineman again. So we're in agreement, offensive lineman. Who do I have them taking? I mean, they had the 6th most quarterback pressures last year in Seattle with the offensive lineman they had. 4th quickest time to throw, like I was saying with Geno Smith. You look at who they have there now. They're starting 5 at the offensive line position. You have the likes of Charles Cross at left tackle. I mean, these names, it's not even worth mentioning. Abe Lucas and Charles Cross are your 2 that you have that you know. Outside of that, it's me playing center at 155 pounds plus. So look at the offensive lineman here. They would be stupid to go anything that is not an offensive lineman. What do you have here? Josh Simmons, Kelvin Banks, Josh Connerly, Tyler Booker, Donovan Jackson. Then you're getting way too deep to be picking at 18 and taking someone different. I go Kelvin Banks if I am the Seattle Seahawks. Why do I take Kelvin Banks? Athlete. He can move. Great in run block. Versatile. They could probably move him anywhere on this offensive line, and he could help out for sure. He does have a lack of arm length, which works out. You have Charles Cross and Abe Lucas as your bookends, and why don't you move Kelvin Banks into guard if you want to? Not the worst thing. So, simple as that. You know, Sam Darnold needs protection. They do have other holes on this team, especially at the wide receiver position. But with that said, you cannot give up the opportunity to take offensive lineman at 18. Pick number 19, Tampa Bay Bucks. PFF says they need edge linebacker DB. What say I? Linebacker. And if you're a Bucks fan, you're hoping and praying that Jihad Campbell falls to 19, gets past Arizona, which is not impossible. I just don't think it's likely that he gets all the way to 19. But if he gets there, he will be the great project / protege to fill in behind Levante David, who is going to be, I want to say, 34 years old going into the season. He signed a 1-year extension, I want to say. So linebacker, cornerback, edge is what I say they need. You look at this defense. The front 4 is good. They have Logan Hall, Vita Vea, one of the top defensive tackles, Kalijah Kancey, who was great in his 2nd year. And then they signed the 1-year contract with Hassan Reddick, betting on the upside of what he can do in this defense. Look at their linebackers. Like I said, Levante David. They do also have Yaya Diaby. Secondary, Zion McCollum, Antoine Winfield, Christian Izien, Jamel Dean, Tyke Smith. They bring in Vildor from Detroit. They allowed the 4th most pass yards per game last year when you look at the secondary. Part of that's due to the offense scoring a lot and scoring quickly. But let's see who's available at this point in the draft. You have Walter Nolan. I kind of don't want to take a front 4 just because the front 4 is not really the strongest issue, I should say. I mean, I don't know. Looking at this, Malachi Starks, Ezaraku. Do you take Kenneth Grant and pair him with Vita Vea? I mean, you already have Kalijah Kancey, so that doesn't add up. I mean, it's kind of, do you go really high and take Trey Amos? To me, if Jihad Campbell's not there at 19, you definitely look into the opportunity of trading back if you are the Tampa Bay Bucks. I don't want to take a defensive interior player because that's solidified right now with Kalijah Cansey and Vita Vea. Logan Hall is there. You have Yaya Diaby sometimes getting after the quarterback. You have Hassan Reddick. He's on a 1-year contract, so that doesn't prevent you from drafting an edge player. Should have noted that to begin with. I go Donovan Ezaraku here if I'm the Bucks, and Jihai Campbell is not available. Whew, we're an hour and a half in. My voice is starting to catch up to me. Ezaraku, move on with your life. Could play behind spot treatment with, he could be the starter over Logan Hall if we're being honest. Pick number 20, one of the quickest rising teams in the NFL in the Denver Broncos. Last year at this time, we were saying, what are they doing taking Bo Nix at pick number, 12 they took him? Why is he being taken so early? He was the perfect quarterback for Sean Payton in his offense. Does he throw the ball down the field? Not often, but it doesn't matter whenever you can move the ball slowly but surely. Every pass can be behind the line of scrimmage as long as it gets yards after the catch. With that said, you look at this roster, it is definitely one of the top 10 rosters in the NFL, easily to me. Let's see. I'm going to run through it real quick. In the Denver Broncos, they have just completely revamped this team in a year's time, especially with that Russell Wilson dead cap hit that they had. All right. Quarterback, Bo Nix. Trying not to give it away. Running backs, Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Estime. The offensive line is very good, very good. Wide receiver, Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims, Devon Vele, who was taken in the 7th round and was better than Troy Franklin last year, who was taken in the, what round was he taken? The 4th round, sorry. Evan Ingram signed in the offseason out of Jacksonville after they cut him. Defensive line, Zach Allen, who is very underrated. DJ Jones, John Franklin Myers, Jonathan Cooper. They bring in Dre Greenlaw, who's a top 10 linebacker when healthy. Alex Singleton's there. Nick Bonito rushing the passer. Patrick Surtain, who is arguably the best cornerback in the NFL. Brandon Jones is there. They bring in Talanoa Hufanga, like I mentioned earlier. So you get 2 players from that San Francisco defense. Riley Moss, who took a giant leap forward last year. Jaquan McMillan. There's one thing that stands out, too, I guess you could argue, that stands out on this roster of what they need. Running back is it. But the problem here is Ashton Jeanty and Omarion Hampton are both gone at this point. So then what do? Do you bring in – all right, so you look at the running backs because ideally this is – all right, 20 is the floor for Omarion Hampton. There's no way he falls past 20. You are really reaching to take one of these running backs at pick 20. With that said, you run into an issue. You have Walter Nolan. You have Malachi Starks. Luther Burden is interesting. 5'11". Like it says here, well-rounded. He could come in and be a great player behind Cortland Sutton. I don't know. Sometimes he reminds me of Debo with the way he gets the ball and just goes after it after that. Kenneth Grant is here. I think this defense is set. I don't think there's anyone defensively. You could argue some of these players, but defensively, I don't think there's anyone that you would take. If you're the Denver Broncos, I wonder what anyone thinks, but Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State, Matthew Golden. My gut just tells me take Luther Burden and pair him with Cortland Sutton. Give him another athlete out there on the edge. Bring him inside. You're not getting your running back here because Omarion Hampton's gone at this point. So you could consider trading back, but I don't know that you have to. So now, you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. Aaron Rodgers was on Pat McAfee today because he felt as though he had not had enough media attention as of late, and now he needs more. he said, no decisions been made. Retirement's still a possibility. You know, I'm not really worried about the money. I would take $10 million. Those two things don't add up, not taking money and $10 million. So you have a problem here if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. Running back's an issue. When you have needs that are listed, if quarterback's one of your needs, it trumps everything else easily. Are we reaching here? You could argue. I don't know why it's ranked like this. Also, of note, Jalen Milroe will be at the draft in attendance, which usually indicates that they're going to be taken possibly in the first round. We've seen them fall. You know, Lamar Jackson went at the end of the first round. Will Levis went much later than he was expected to. But if Jackson Dart is here, I don't think there's really much to argue. If you're the Steelers, you don't know what's happening with Aaron Rodgers. Even if you do get Aaron Rodgers, you are not banking on the future with him. Go ahead and take your quarterback. Consider a year behind him and move on. At number 22, you have Los Angeles Chargers. Wide receiver, tight end, D-line, based on what PFF. Let me go back. Pittsburgh. Let me go back to Pittsburgh and talk a little bit about Jackson Dart. They're going to need a quarterback in the future regardless. They need one this year and in the future, even if you get Aaron Rodgers, like I said. He's more of an athlete. Kind of reminds me of Jalen Hurts at times with the ability to scramble. Like I said, play makes out of structure. My only question was, was his success scheme dependent? No, to be determined. He just needs to improve, on his ball placement for sure. But he's best quarterback available at this point at 21, and you can get a quarterback of the future. And the Pittsburgh Steelers definitely are in need, to say the least. So going back to the Los Angeles Chargers, picking at 22. I feel like it's kind of a given here. There's, wide receiver and tight end are definitely two top needs. Defensive interior is underrated, underlying need. They lost Poona Ford, who was underrated last year. I think they have to go straight forward and go get Colston Loveland, who's coming off injury. They don't have a tight end. I don't even know who their tight end is right now. Oh, it's from New York, from the Jets. Where's he at? Tyler Conklin, and then Will Dissly. Those are not your tight ends of the future. With that said, Colston Loveland is the pick. There is argument. They do need a wide receiver. They've kind of brought back some talent. Yeah. They have Ladd McConkey. Quentin Johnston showed improvement, a lot of improvement and last year in 2024. They bring back Mike Williams. They need a tight end more. And Colston Loveland is that guy. He could end up being the best tight end in this draft going forward. All right. So 23, another wide receiver needy team. Who do the Green Bay Packers go and get? Wide receiver, edge, cornerback per PFF. Per myself, cornerback is number one. If Jahdae Barron was there, oh, absolutely. Wide receiver and edge. When you look at this team, are your options to me Walter Nolan, Kenneth Grant, Matthew Golden, Trey Amos? Does he go early? I think it's still a little too early for him. He could definitely slide into the second round. I think they may have to roll with the wide receivers that they had last year. Front four. Edgerrin Cooper was definitely a nice surprise for this team rushing the passer. He was kind of everywhere, it seemed, on every play. They do have Devontae Wyatt, Kenny Clark, Rashawn Gary. But I don't think that precludes them from taking another defensive lineman. And, Kenneth Grant. Back-to-back Michigan players. Kenneth Grant is the pick here. They can shore up that front four, improve on what they do have. Kenny Clark was drafted in 2016, Rashawn Gary in 2019. Kenneth Grant has that rare combo of quickness and size at the nose tackle position. He's strong enough to dominate single matchups and can hold up against double teams. So I go with Kenneth Grant. Move on. You don't get your wide receiver in the first round. There are some day 2, day 3 picks that they could go after, add more mid-level talent to that wide receiver room. People that are falling. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, Malachi Starks is probably ranked this high pre-combine. The combine's definitely made him take a hit. And here we are. He's still on the board at this point. One second. Catching my breath. A lot of talking when you talk by yourself for an hour and 46 minutes straight. Mouth starts to get a little dry. Final third. We are down to the final third of this first round. Had a lot to say about these first 23 picks. And we will finish strong. We will finish strong for sure. All right. Minnesota Vikings. They don't really have a ton of needs when you look at this team. PFF has them needing running back, defensive interior, DB. I personally think that they need a DB, offensive line, and a safety. I mean, the defensive line, when we look at their defensive line, they do have some aging players. They do have Jonathan Allen, who was cut by Washington, Javon Hargrave, who was cut by the Niners, Harrison Phillips, who is getting older, Jonathan Grenard. So they do have a solid front four. Blake Cashman, Ivan Pace Jr., Andrew Van Ginkel also getting after the quarterback. They bring in Isaiah Rodgers and Jeff Okudah. They did lose Cam Ward. Harrison Smith he is definitely up there, drafted in 2012. You know, if I'm Brian Flores in this team, yeah, you could shore up, get some more depth on the offensive line. Running back, they have Aaron Jones. He's serviceable for another year for sure. Even though he's one of the older running backs in the NFL, he was only one of 2 running backs last year that was age 30 or older to have 1,000+ yards, I want to say. He and Derrick Henry. With that said, you're Brian Flores, master defensive schemer. You were sitting there looking at this board, and you have the likes of Malachi Starks staring you. You could take Walter Nolan. You could go get Omar Norman Light, I think a little early. James Pierce, high variability. Could take Josh Simmons, depth on that offensive line. You go get what the tape has shown you with Malachi Starks and how good of a player he has been at Georgia. Don't let the combine sway you from taking what could be a top 10 talent, potentially top 15, especially when you have Harrison Smith, who is about to age out of this defense, and Malachi Starks could learn under him for a year or two. Oh, man, out of water. Okay, look, they only have 2 needs for the Texans because they're so, I don't know, they have wide receiver over offensive lineman. You know, you come into this, I had them needing offensive lineman, wide receiver. They double dip for sure because they're starting offensive lineman right now. Cam Robinson, who is average on his best day at left tackle. Titus Howard, Jarrett Patterson, Juice Scruggs, and Blake Fisher. You know those names because they were terrible last year. They had the 3rd most sacks in the league at 54, which is the most by any playoff team. They are hoping and praying that Zabel falls to them. Kelvin Banks too, but that's not going to happen. So who are they going to take here? Let's just, Josh Simmons is there. I think they go Josh Connerly, honestly. He has very good movement skills, average size and length. I think he's just such a reliable. His floor is high enough that they will take him over Josh Simmons. They need some reliability on that offensive line. They have so many issues. They are revamping it completely. Who else did they bring in? I mean, they got rid of Shaq Mason. They got rid of Laramie Tunsil. Like I said, they're completely revamping it. Laken Tomlinson is there. Ed Ingram. Trent Brown. Jerome Carvin. They have 5 new offensive linemen they've already brought in. They said, you know what? No matter what, we can't be any worse than what we were last year. Take the offensive lineman. Keep it going. All right, 26. You know, if Jackson Dart was still here for the Rams, it would be an interesting thing to see if they would take him to sit behind Matthew Stafford and just keep the ball rolling. Tight end, tackle, linebacker. What the Rams have done over the last few years is just avoid the linebacker position. They have said this is going to be our weak spot, and we are fine with it. We're going to keep going. The defense is ahead of schedule as far as the defensive front 4 goes. That secondary definitely needs some help, but the front 4 is so good that it covers up the secondary's issues. You have Braden Fisk, Poona Ford, who I spoke about earlier, being so underrated, and a defensive interior, Kobe Turner, Byron Young, Jared Verse. I mean, Lord, this front 4 is ridiculous. Linebacker is more of a problem. Troy Reader, Omar Spates. They had Ernest Jones. They let him walk. They trade him away. Secondary, Darius Williams from Jacksonville, Cam Curl, Kobe Durant, Cam Kitchens, Akello Weatherspoon comes back, Quentin Lake. Do you go tackle? Do you go linebacker here? I mean, what's available at this point? And Walter Nolan's still there, but at this point, they do not need a front 4. They are wasting that pick. He's going to sit so deep on the bench, he'll never see the field. Don't need wide receiver when they have the likes of Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams. James Pierce is there. Josh Simmons is an option. So we have one option in Josh Simmons, not Omar Norman Lott. Kevin Winston. Who do you take him? Trey Amos. I think that's your 3 options there. Kevin Winston, Trey Amos, Josh Simmons. Their offensive line, they got rid of Jonah Jackson. They did bring back Alaric Jackson. Steve Avila, Bo Limmer, Kevin Dotson, Rob Havenstein. Havenstein's probably out the door potentially after this year. That right there sells me on Josh Simmons. You need to keep Matthew Stafford upright. He is older. You're kind of reaching when you're going for Trey Amos or the likes of Kevin Winston. He has the injury issues. He could be the best safety in the class if he stays healthy. Last year, he was a first-round pick, guaranteed. This year, he's fallen due to injury concerns. You can come back and get your linebacker, cornerback, safety later on, day 2, day 3. So, 27, the Ravens. What do I want the Ravens to do here? If I'm the Ravens, offensive line, cornerback, and safety is a need. They have guard, edge, and DB. I mean, edge, yeah, I could see that too. If I'm the Ravens, and my God, they have him so low. Tyler Booker's ranked 47th on here. Oh, my God. If I'm the Ravens, I am running to the podium to take Tyler Booker. Go ahead and take it, and then I will tell you why. Tyler Booker, they lost Patrick McCarry. They re-signed Ronnie Stanley. They still have a solid offensive line, but they do have some holes. I'm not going to say it's the best. Lamar alleviates a lot of the issues with that offensive line due to his ability to scramble, get out the pocket, and make up for a lot of issues that are there. Could they go the route of James Pierce and take a swing? Absolutely. Could they take Trey Amos? Shamar Stewart? Yeah, those are all reasonable choices. But if I'm the Ravens, I am taking Tyler Booker. Starting offensive line right now, Ronnie Stanley, Andrew Voorhees, Tyler Linderbaum, Daniel Falele, Roger Rosengarten. So I feel like you have issues with those 2 guard positions, not solidified for sure. And when I look at Baltimore and Tyler Booker, he has foot speed and balance issues, whatever. We can make it work. But he's powerful, well-built. He has such a high IQ at that guard position. And he's the perfect guard for a run scheme. What does Baltimore do? Run the ball down your throat. They can pass the ball, but we're going back to the run game first and foremost. So important in Baltimore. They led the league last year, almost 188 yards per game on the ground, 89 10-plus rush yards attempts. That's 13 more than second place. They're going to run the ball. Keep doing what you do well. I mean, the defense, they have Kyle Van Noy, who never ages. They have, I wish David Ojabo would have done something, but he never did. He never panned out to what we wanted him to be. Odafe Owe is there. Flashes for sure. They were one of the higher sack teams last year. Trenton Simpson played relatively well, again paired with Roquan Smith. Still got Matabuki. They lost Michael Pierce. He retired. Secondary starts to be a problem. Nate Williams was solid in his first year. Ardarius Washington come on strong late at the end of the season. Kyle Hamilton covers up so many issues. They have Marlon Humphrey, who has highs and lows. Look good toward that second half of the season for sure. Then they have Kyle Hamilton. Did I say that already? They did sign Chidobe Awuzie from Tennessee, which is a solid piece, meaning that they lost only Brandon Stevens in that secondary of note, which was god-awful to begin with. Take Tyler Booker. Move on with your life. 28, question for Detroit Lions fans. If Trey Hendrickson's on the trade block, do you trade for him? You give up this number 28 pick at this point in the draft? Walter Nolan's here. James Pierce is here. Nick Scorton. Shamar Stewart. Do you take one of them to pair with Aiden Hutchinson, or do you take Trey Hendrickson? If it's me, I don't think I trade for Trey Hendrickson just because of the fact that you have the contracts coming up of Aiden Hutchinson. You got to pay him. Do you want to pay him and Trey Hendrickson, who is not the youngest player, and then you give up the chance of one of these first-round picks? No. So, with their edge players, because, they lost Zadarius Smith, or let him go, I should say. They brought back Melifon. Was it Melifon? Who did they bring back? I have talked so much. I'm talking into delirium at this point. Detroit Lions, front four. Aiden Hutchinson, DJ Reader, Aleem McNeil, Marcus Davenport. They bring back Levi Onwuzurike, who is low-key good when he's on the field. This defense they lose Aaron Glenn, they lose Ben Johnson on defense and offense. The offense will be fine. They still have all their playmakers. They have their offensive line. They did lose, what's his name? The guard, Kevin Zeitler. But the offense is still in good hands. When you look at what this defense has, the secondary could use some help for sure. They do have Terry and Arnold. They did bring in DJ Reed. Sorry, forget about that. Lost Carlton Davis. But with their front four in the locker room you don't hear any issues out of this locker room. I think they are one of the teams that could bring in one of the more volatile players in James Pierce. I go James Pierce here with the Detroit Lions. Bring him in. You have the leadership in this locker room that could mold him into the player that you want him to be. He has such a wide variability on what he could be, high ceiling for sure. So let's see what happens. James Pierce, Detroit Lion. Washington Commanders. They got running back as number one need. I don't think I agree with that. My notes, I have edge, cornerback, and offensive lineman. Let's see. Let's see who they're starting. When you look at their starters, they let Jonathan Allen go on the front four. So they have Dorrance Armstrong. Dante Fowler is also out. Deron Payne, Javon Kinlaw, Deatrice Wise. Frankie Louvu's still there. They need an edge player. They need somebody to rush the quarterback. I feel like it's a pretty glaring need. Cornerback could use some help, but, they have Marshawn Lattimore, Mike Sammer still, who was a rookie last year. Jonathan Jones is there now. Igbini, I can't never say his name, especially at this point of the night. With that said, Nick Scorton is kind of low-key someone that I want to take at this point. But me, if I'm the Commanders, Shamar Stewart. Scheme versatile, has high potential. He needs to improve on his technique, but he's an athletic freak. They need a dominant player. They were mid on sacks last year, but they had the 6th fewest quarterback pressures. And with that said, they need someone who can get after the quarterback quickly and often. Shamar Stewart, you are a Washington Commander. 3 more picks. The hometown Buffalo Bills. And I say hometown for this network. Hometown Buffalo Bills. Per PFF, edge, linebacker, cornerback. Per myself, cornerback, defensive line, wide receiver. This is pretty straightforward to me. I mean, Walter Nolan's still there. I say straightforward because cornerback, take Trey Amos. But if Walter Nolan falls, I mean, he's got to be taken at some point. I just hadn't seen where he would fit in for me. I don't know. This is a tough one. Greg Russo, Daquan Jones, Ed Oliver, Joey Bosa, front 4 in Buffalo. Man, I really want to. Walter Nolan. I don't want to do it because when you look at the secondary on this team, I got to take Trey Amos. Trey Amos, you are a Buffalo Bill. Why is that? Ideal blend of size, movement skills, coverage scheme, versatility. They do have Teron Johnson. They did bring Trey White back. I don't think that precludes them from taking another cornerback, though. They do have Christian Benford, Taylor Rapp, DeMar Hamlin, Derek Forrest, Dane Jackson. Secondary is, could be better. We're here, though. Trey Amos is my pick. Explosiveness and speed is not the best. Still taking. When you watch the film, I want to say CB2 at worst. Could be CB1 if everything falls into place. But my thing with the Buffalo Bills, I mentioned this last week. Their last 5 playoff losses, they have given up 33.2 points per game. I got to go Trey Amos. Walter Nolan is tempting at this point, but Trey Amos is the pick for me in the first round. He's been mocked a few times there, and that's what I think is going to happen for the Buffalo Bills, especially when you look back at what the Bills have done over the last 10 years. Let's see. Let me bring it up here. Buffalo. What about Buffalo? And my phone is crashing, so whatever. Buffalo Bills, Trey Amos. We are down to the last 2 picks, and this would be fitting for Kansas City does need an offensive lineman and defensive line as well. But there's no offensive lineman to take at this point. They're taking Walter Nolan. The terrible fall ends here. He ends up a Kansas City Chief. Chris Jones is not getting any younger. Kansas City Chief, Walter Nolan. Go learn behind one of the greats in Chris Nolan. What are the Eagles going to do at 32? What is their biggest need? PFF says wide receiver. What? They have Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. Y'all are lost y'all's mind wide receiver. Guard, edge, cornerback. They did lose a lot of defensive players. Cornerback, they do have Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. Not really worried about that. When you look at that safety position, well, let's see. Well, before that, let's look at what's best available. Egbuka, Golden, Norman Lott, Kevin Winston Jr., Scorton. There are some great names here. My God. I just don't really agree with some of these rankings that they have. Where are they getting these rankings? It's going to be hard to pass up a certain player. Anyways, looking at their secondary or their defense in general. Up front, they have Nolan Smith, who came on second year. Jalen Carter, dominant. Jordan Davis, great. They are still missing enough. They still have Bryce Huff. Zach Bond can get after the quarterback. Linebacker position, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. N'Kobe Dean's coming off an injury. They signed Azeez Ojulari from the Giants. The front 4 is still good. Secondary, cornerback position, like I said, Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. Outside of that, they could use help because they let James Bradbury go and Darius Slay. In the safety position, though, I mean, Sidney Brown, the Reed Blankenship. They got him ranked low here. Nick Emenwari. We are analyzing the draft, but Nick Emenwari, one of the 4 players who is 6'3" or taller, who topped 40 inches in the vertical and ran a sub 4.4 in the 40-yard dash since 2003. He is best player available to me on a team that doesn't really have holes. We're reaching for holes at this point. He could go learn a lot under Vic Fangio and maybe excel to take that transition, that athletic ability into one of the best secondary players in the NFL when it's all said and done. So, quick recap of this expected first round based on statistical needs and analytics of these players and these teams. Cam Ward given. Travis Hunter. I don't think they go Shedeur here. Number 3, Abdul Carter. I don't think they go quarterback either. You know, they just become the most dominant front 4. Can't pass up one of the 2 blue chip players. Armand Membu at 4, not Will Campbell. Will Campbell, short arms. Armand Membu, athletic freak. Mason Graham, sure up that defensive front. Defense was terrible in Jacksonville. Ashton Genty, run game was horrible in Las Vegas last year. Ted McMillan goes to the Jets to pair with Garrett Wilson versus taking Will Campbell at number 7. Jahdae Barron is a surprise because now the Panthers cannot take Ted McMillan, their first choice. They've done a lot on the defense, but they need a CB besides J.C. Horn. They take Jahdae Barron. Number 9, Shedeur Sanders. Saints have to get out of cap hell. They have Derek Carr. What's really happening? Not really sure. There's been rumors with Shedeur going to New Orleans. I think this is where he goes. They have to take the opportunity to lessen some of those cap issues by taking a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal at 9 and hope for the best when they owe or have a cap hit of $69 million next year with Derek Carr. 10, Will Campbell slides all the way to the Chicago Bears. They shore up the future of that offensive line and continue to protect Caleb Williams. Is Braxton Jones your left tackle of the future? Not really sure. If not, move Will Campbell in. Joe Tooney's there, but he's in the last year of his contract. Number 11, Will Johnson goes to the San Francisco 49ers. They do need DB help, along with a lot of other things. Number 12, the Cowboys make a splashy play as always and take Omarion Hampton. Second running back in the first round. Running back is their biggest need. Miami's biggest need now that Teron Armstead has retired is offensive lineman. Versatility and Gray Zabel. They have a lot of issues in that offensive line. Come in, put him anywhere. Most chalky pick outside of number 1 probably. Tyler Warren if he makes it to 14. Colts had less than 40 receptions, less than 400 yards, and just 4 touchdowns last year from their tight end room combined. Tyler Warren is a must for Indianapolis. Falcons had the second fewest sacks last year at 31. Mike Green, sack man, go to Atlanta, produce the numbers. Jihad Campbell would be a great fit in Arizona, linebacker position, an area of need. Going into the second half, Jalen Walker, he falls all the way to 17. What's going to happen with Trey Hendrickson? Not really sure. Get someone else. Kelvin Banks at 18. Sam Darnold's in Seattle. They need offensive line protection for him. He cannot play with no protection. Tampa Bay Bucks are hoping that Jihad Campbell falls to 19, but in the event that he doesn't, I have them taking Donovan Ezaraku from Boston College. Replace Logan Hall in that front 4. Show up that front 4. Offense is good. Get some defensive help. At 20, Omarion Hampton is gone. It's too far of a reach for the likes of Dylan Sampson, Travion Henderson, anyone else that's a day 2 or 3 pick. So they go wide receiver. Defense is solid, way above average. They don't have many holes. Get some help with Cortland Sutton out there. 21, regardless of what happens with Aaron Rodgers, if the Steelers are able to take Jackson Dart here, they do. They need a quarterback now. They need a quarterback of the future. 22, the Chargers need offensive help. They do need defensive line help after losing Poona Ford, and some more issues on that defense. But they take Colston Loveland, who's coming off that injury, but Justin Herbert finally needs some help on the offensive side of the ball. 23, there's no wide receiver here for the Packers to take to be a wide receiver one. If Ted McMillan somehow falls to 23, it's obviously their obvious choice. But with that said, Jahdae Barron is also gone, who I thought may would fall to them. Not in this mock draft. Kenneth Grant goes in to fill in the aging Kenny Clark, Rashawn Gary in that front four. 24, team with not many holes. You give Malachi Starks to Brian Flores and let him flourish as Harrison Smith continues to age. 25, Houston Texans need offensive line, offensive line, offensive line, offensive line. They take one of the two Joshes, who may be the second-ranked Josh and Josh Connerly, but I feel they take him instead to have him with a higher floor. 26, LA Rams. Jackson Dart's not here, so I don't think they're taking him for the future. He's been taken by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Josh Simmons is taken, one of the top offensive linemen left, to shore up the depth in that. Rob Havenstein doesn't have much time left. Protect Matthew Stafford. 27, Tyler Booker, best guard on the board, best guard potentially. Keep running the ball in Baltimore. Give me Tyler Booker. Detroit Lions, they have a great locker room. Bring in James Pierce, the most volatile, who could go as high as 10, as low as 32 probably. Bring him in, see what he can do opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. Washington Commanders definitely need edge help. They don't have no one that can get to the quarterback at this point. They lost Jonathan Allen. They lost Dante Fowler. Bring in Shamar Stewart. See what he can do, athletic freak. Walter Nolan's still here, but I have the Buffalo Bills taking Trey Amos. They give up too many points in their playoff losses, over 33 per game. Make him CB2 alongside Christian Benford. Walter Nolan slide ends at 31. Somehow the Chiefs get a great player. Learn behind Chris Jones, learn alongside him. And then you have the most athletic freak in the combine with Nick Emanwari falling to the Philadelphia Eagles. The rich get richer, and they turn this athletic freak into one of the top safeties in the league. Whew. 2 hours and 12 minutes later, we are done with our first round mock draft. My goodness, what a night. Appreciate the 5,000 that stopped in to listen to a few seconds, few minutes, 2 hours, ever how long you stayed. Please, if you're still here, give a like or follow to us at Do Champions on every social media network. You can follow myself to get nonstop stats and analytics of the NFL at King NFL Stats. Follow me on X, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. And stay tuned, because next Thursday we are here live for the draft. It will be a large group of us. We are all going to be here reacting to every pick in the first round next Thursday night. And until then, like and subscribe to us on YouTube, and we will all catch you next week.